this is a weird song because it's got like a really good like lilt kind of thing going. But then there's parts of it that I can't put my finger on that I just don't like. That feel like they don't really fit with the song. It's like a mashup of two genres almost. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It is very hot in my office. It is currently 92 degrees outside. And at my desk it is 82.5 degrees. In my server room, which is just to the right of me, it is 75.8. Yeah, we're gonna play some Elden Ring today. I think we're gonna be able to finish. I forgot to do the monitor thing. And unless I do the monitor thing, you don't get to see what I'm doing. Oh yeah, I guess I need to unmute the game. Oh wow. Okay. I consciously decided not to restart my PC. And I wonder if that was a bad decision. Ah, the Hallig tree. Someone said, hey, what should we implement in our game with jumping for the first time? And somebody else is like, do a bunch of weird textured stuff, like stuff you could trip on, right? And then let's put a bunch of enemies that have homing missiles on it. Oh, and let's do some dead ends with crappy items to entice the players to go over there. What do you say? And then somebody else is like, yeah, dude, that sounds great. But you know what would be even better? If we put the ants from the underground on it. And then you get the Hallig tree. There's not really any reason for me to explore here, because I'm not going to like find any items for my build, I don't think, but I am compelled. Oh no, I'm dead. Too much cum. Too many cum bubbles. Hopefully the finale, yes. I have 5 bosses left. Granted, one of them is the hardest boss in the game. But I think we'll be okay. I think I'll be able to get it done in one stream. I will not be streaming Tears of the Kingdom. I really disagree with like everything Nintendo does, so I don't want to promote any of their games. I think they're like a super anti-consumer company, and I just don't want to give them any additional press. Oh god. Well, that was a terrifying experience. Tears of the Kingdom is really good though. I've been playing it offline. I'm like probably 40 hours into it. I really didn't enjoy Breath of the Wild. I tried 3 or 4 times to play it and it just did not click with me ever. But I decided to try Tears of the Kingdom and it's been pretty good. I think probably in 3 or 4 attempts of playing Breath of the Wild, I have as much time total as I do in my one playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom so far. Oh god. Big bubbler. Can you just jump? I don't remember. You can, apparently. Oh, there's a ladder. God, these dudes sucked so much on my first playthrough because I was so squishy as a mage. These guys absolutely shredded me. I have read multiple times that a lot of the reason Nintendo acts the way that they do is just because they're Japanese and like very old school. And that's probably true in a lot of cases. And I think beyond just the fact that they are like an old school Japanese company, they also, it doesn't affect their sales. It doesn't matter what they do. They're still going to sell games and they're going to sell a lot of them. So why would they, like, they have no incentive to change because they've never seen any negative impact from their behavior. Like, sure, I can say that they will probably sell more games if they're a more positive company and like better to their users. But why take that risk if you don't need to? But yeah, if they were better about letting people emulate their games, or oh you fucker. If they were better about letting people emulate their games, or like platforming their old games, giving people a way to play them, I think that would go a long way. Because one of my biggest complaints about Nintendo is just like they're not an accessible company. If you want to play NES games legally, you don't have an option a good portion of the time. Listen, I'm done playing. No, get out of here. An asshole. What a shit, yeah, I was gonna say what a shit boss, but what a shit enemy. They're not really in I shouldn't say they're not in the gaming business, because they are. They're not as big in the gaming business as they used to be. But Sega's actually done really good. They actually have a historian team that like works to publish old Sega like media, not just games, right, but like ads and like documentaries and stuff like that. That is what I would love to see from a company like Nintendo. Like, they have so much history and they were so influential in gaming, especially in the 80s, that it just sucks that none of that info is out there for people to access. And it'd be really cool if Nintendo just decided one day that, hey, we're gonna reprint or at least upload all of our original ad media from the 80s for like Donkey Kong, stuff like that. I think this is like a super crappy item. I think it's like a rune arc or something. Wow. Pearl Drake Talisman. Non-physical damage negation. I guess it would actually be pretty good against Loretta. Most of her attacks are magic, I think. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom is playable on PC now at 60 frames per second in 4K, which is incredible, given that it doesn't even run at a stable 30 frames 1080 excuse me, on the Switch. It's insane that it just runs that well on PC, and it's not even like because the emulators are good, it's because the Switch has such like dated and horrible hardware. You can play it legally on PC. So it's in the US, I think it's precedent, but at the very least it's a gray area. In every other country it's fully legal. If you own a piece of media, you are allowed to make as many backups as you want, as long as you do not distribute those backups. How you use those backups, like in your own home, there's no regulation on. So you can take a backup of a game on your Switch, transfer it to your PC, and then you can emulate it there. And that's fully legal. The only things that are illegal around emulating games are obviously if you pirate them, but you need keys. You need like a hardware ID from your Switch, and if you don't have a hacked Switch, obviously you can't dump games, but let's say you somehow legally obtained a game without a hacked Switch. You also can't get keys without a hacked Switch, meaning you can't actually emulate the games. So it's kind of that's where Nintendo gets up in a huff, is because you need to have something from two things from a hacked Switch in order to be able to emulate. But I happen to have a hacked Switch, so I can legally emulate my games. Did we do this already? Yeah, we jumped here. Okay, so that's the ladder. And then we went down. Yeah. Ooh, Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. We could plus 10 another weapon. Actually, now that I think about it, our bow is a Somber weapon. We could plus 10 our bow. That is not a horrible idea. Okay, that's very rude of you. To try and push an innocent tarnished off the edge like that. Yeah, and what's even crazier is it was not, I shouldn't say crazier because it's kind of expected, but it was a retail physical copy that leaked too, which I think is interesting. Like either a store employee had access to games, decided to steal one, or, you know, like open it in the back or whatever and then dump it, or someone got their game shipped to them early and then dumped it. So like it's not really that wild that it got leaked. It makes sense given how it was leaked. Wow, that was insta-death. But yeah, there's two types of files. One is dumped from a store like the Nintendo eShop, and one is dumped from physical cartridge. There are the like eShop version is available, but it's just a conversion of the original. Of the cartridge, I should say. Oh, there's 3 of you. Oh, you're summoned. I'm an idiot. I didn't even think that they were summons. Fuck me. But yeah, you if you happened to pirate it too, it's interesting. You actually needed a hacked Switch to play the pirated version, because about 7 hours or so into the game, it none of the emulators could play it. It would just crash basically, or it wouldn't load anything. So a hacked Switch can connect to Nintendo Switch Online, but not while it's hacked. So the way that you hack a Switch is with something called CFW, or custom firmware. And that custom firmware usually is housed on an SD card. So the way that it works after you've hacked the Switch is you can boot effectively from your SD card, or you can boot from like the built-in drive on the am I dead? Yeah, now I'm dead. Or you can boot off the built-in memory to the Switch. So if you want to play Nintendo Switch Online, all you have to do is you have to boot onto the normal Switch, and then you can't play emulated games. You can't use any of your, or sorry, I shouldn't say emulated games. You can't play your pirated games. You can't play any of your other stuff, your homebrew apps. But where is this other snail at? I guess I can just kill this Crystallian, but I'm curious where the other snail's at. But yeah, I have no intention of ever playing online with my Switch, so I don't worry about it. But yeah, you can safely connect. There's some networking changes you can make too on the Switch, so it won't ever connect to Nintendo servers like in error. while you're booted into your custom firmware. So it's pretty robust how it's built now, like to make it so you don't accidentally get banned from Nintendo Switch Online. I was not sure if we were going to leave that. Yep, you can play, well, you can emulate your Nintendo Switch games on Steam Deck pretty easily. Not all of them run well. Like some games you just need insane hardware to play right now, including like Tears of the Kingdom, but a lot of them play just fine. And actually, I think you might be able to run Tears of the Kingdom now that I'm thinking about it, because if you're able to run on high-end hardware as well as it can, you might be able to play like Switch quality on the Steam Deck. I play on my Switch probably 60% of the time, and then I play on my PC the rest of the time. It just depends on what I'm feeling, if I want to play on my TV or not. And yeah, Nintendo is extremely heavy-handed when it comes to anything showing emulation. Even of their older games, they can be pretty heavy-handed when it comes to emulation. Dude, what is this shuffle he's doing? Can't remember, are you magic or not? I think you are. I don't think you're gonna try and bonk me. He was like the personification of 2 steps forward, 1 step back that whole time. Okie dokie. A little unexpected. I could just run out there. I probably should. Thankfully, Nintendo can't touch any of the smarter emulators, like the actual software, which is really nice. There was one taken down recently, like from GitHub, because they were essentially providing the keys that you're supposed to have to get from the Switch, which is illegal, because it's effectively like taking a copy of a game, more or less, and uploading it. YouTube DL got taken down originally for something similar, although much more dumb. In their YouTube DL is a software for downloading videos, primarily from YouTube, but from other sites as well. And in their reference guide, they actually had a link to a video that was copyright music. Oops. And that is what their project was taken down for. Oh my gosh. Why is their damage so crazy still? You got this, Loretta. I have faith in you, girl. But yeah, DMCA in the US is pretty wide-reaching and stupid. Okay. That was way easier than it should have been. And we just got 200k runes for that. Yeah. The music industry in the US is notoriously litigious. Like, they will go after anybody for anything. It's pretty absurd. I need 19k. It's pretty absurd how heavy-handed they can be. Oh, I should go back and level up my bow also. Like, even back in the day, like with Napster, I think they went after that person for, I don't even know how much money, insane amount, for like downloading 10 songs or something crazy. I don't think you have anything I want, ladies. But yeah, after the whole YouTube DL incident, I'm a data hoarder. I have like entirely too much data. Like, I have multiple years worth of video from YouTube. Like, not like years worth of content, but like if you watched it back to back, it would take years. And I do that just because I don't want that data to be deleted and to lose access to it forever. But I mirror a bunch of GitHub projects now also, which is something I didn't used to do before the takedown. What am I doing? I don't need this on status. 176k.
Who are you? Oh, now.
$176, not 167. Yeah, 9k more.
Who are you? Oh, now.
I used to put the videos on Plex, but indexing it takes so long that I had to remove them. The way Plex scans videos is it will scan a library. The least intensive way to scan videos is it will scan a library anytime a change is detected. And given that I would download like 20 plus YouTube videos a day, it was literally just constantly scanning Plex. So it was actually crippling my server because it couldn't keep up CPU wise. So I actually had to remove my YouTube videos from Plex. They're still accessible like on my network. This is not where I need to be. Promenade? But yeah, they're just on my NAS right now. And I have a lot. I have a lot of content. It's crazy. I also archive Twitch streams to a lesser degree just because they take up so much more space. Because if you think about it, full-time streamers stream 40 plus hours a week, and 40 hours of video is huge. I have a list of channels that I download specifically. So like Linus Tech Tips, MKBHD, a bunch of like RuneScape YouTubers. I download basically any channel that I subscribe to on YouTube. I download their videos. Especially a lot of smaller creators, I like to download their content because the likelihood of something happening to their channel and YouTube not doing anything about it is way higher than the larger channels. I mean, like case in point with LTT having been compromised like not even a month ago. What a beautiful area. I can't even imagine what it would have taken, like, practically speaking, to construct all this out of, like, brick. Oh, two-hand your weapon, you dummy. Is this? Okay. Chill. I would have to check if I did or not. I have no idea when that video was. I would be willing to bet yes. Wait. They removed the video because it was mispronounced? Oh my god, that's hilarious. That is comical. I can look and see if I can find it. It takes a long time for that folder to load because Windows sucks. I'll see how long it takes. There's 4 files for every single YouTube video, if I remember correctly, because there's a JSON with all of the information, subtitles, and I think a description along with the actual video. It's a lot of files. I'll let that load for a second. But yeah, October of 2022, I would be willing to bet that I have the video. Don't know why I kept swinging, but whatever. I think it was either late 2021 or maybe early 2022. Someone had asked on... no, it was probably earlier than that. It actually might have been even 2020. Someone had asked how much data Linus's entire YouTube channel was, And that's when I actually decided to archive their channel because I was legitimately curious. And at the time, I think it was almost 1.1 terabytes of video, which is obviously like with YouTube's compression and everything. But I mean, they've been doing daily uploads since like 2014, 2013, something crazy like that. So it's kind of to be expected. I'm guessing I jumped down there. We can fight Mr. Tree Spirit. Yeah, it was like the only positive press that they received about their ring because Linus had purchased it before their subscription model launched. Oh, they've been doing daily uploads since 2008. I'm crazy. I have 20,718 items in this folder. So divide that by 4-ish for the number of videos I have. So I have a little over 5,000. I will try searching even though Windows search is horrible. But yeah, LTT, MKBHD, those are two of the larger ones. There's basically anybody that does like really high quality videos or daily uploads. Their channels are massive. I would love to have like a fitness tracker type ring, especially something with like a longer battery life, because then I could get a smartwatch without those sensors, hopefully, and have longer battery life there too. But I'm not into subscription services. Okay, so I died to the ulcerated tree spirit down there. So let's explore everywhere else first, and then we can go fight him again. I'm really into self-hosting and like keeping my own data to myself whenever I can. I'm relatively selective with which companies actually get access to my information. Like Google is definitely the most intrusive one that I let have access to any modicum of information, but in my head, they are providing me a service at the cost of my information, and it's a pretty good service, all things considered. So, but another company like Aura, for example, or my watch is Mobvoi, which is just like a Chinese brand. And I have all of their services disabled, and then I have their like domains blocked at my house, so they can't call home. All of the smart products in my house, with the exception of the Google Homes that I have, none of them can phone home. They're all black holed on my network, so like if the cameras wanted to phone home, they can't. Like it literally just gives them no network effectively. So I don't go to the extreme like some people do, but I definitely am more conscious of it than a lot of people are. Ooh, 2 clean route nights at the same time, and I'm stuck on something. This is fun. I ran out of juice. What if this guy killed me after all that? Okay. Yeah, that was something that I don't think LTT broke the story, but they definitely popularized it. But if you put in for a time like a random anchor URL, you could access user videos online, as long as you knew like the format that they were stored in, like the URL format. You could access just random videos. You couldn't access in like specific users' files without some like access to their network beforehand. But you could just like pull up random people's info, which is pretty terrifying. And they claimed it was for like QA testing that they had the video at all. Which is like, okay, but maybe you shouldn't be watching users' video footage. Just a thought. Dude, I get it. They're all here for Nicola. She's pretty cute. No, thank you, Mr. Spirit. Take a rain check, please. Deactivate the grace, you bastards. Ow. Damn. It's a big fuck you. Yeah, there's still quite a few cameras that are like that. It's pretty crazy. There's a couple sites directed to just like scanning the internet and cataloging them. It's wild. But yeah, the only way to access my cameras from not at my house is to go to a URL that I host and to sign in with a username and password. So you would have to, 1, know the domain that I host at my house, and then 2, have access to my credentials. I don't know what's in your chest, but I'll check. Oh, I hadn't even considered doing a backstab on y'all. Scarlet Rod. Oh, wow. That's kind of terrifying. I guess I could have just ran over and opened the chest. I didn't actually need to fight him. But now I kind of have to because I got my runes. I wonder how easy it is to crack them with just the bow. Oh, you can just walk up here? I guess I don't need to... for some reason I thought you couldn't walk back, but that wouldn't make any sense. Ow. Why did I drink that flask? I didn't mean to. I wanted to drink the normal one. Just have a little sippy poo. I mean, I wouldn't open a malicious file that I thought was a PDF. That's like the hardest thing in security is training your users not to be idiots. And I am generally speaking not an idiot when it comes to cybersecurity, at least. So like the likelihood of me doing that is very slim. Not impossible, I guess, but very slim. But I don't use those domains when I'm at home. So somebody getting that information via my computer being compromised is pretty unlikely also. Like, not impossible, but me getting compromised like that to begin with, my antivirus, like, not detecting it as a threat, and then, like, me accessing that site on my computer while my computer's infected, that's like a perfect storm of bad things happening. And yeah, it's pretty crazy that somebody at LTT did that, like, with a marketing email. I mean, one of the biggest things that we try to teach in cybersecurity for our users is not to even, like, look at emails unless you recognize the sender. That's like the easiest way to figure out if an email is legit or not, is like to very carefully look at the domain, and like make sure it's legit and is like DMARC authenticated and all that fun stuff. Like, there's a lot of ways to prevent that from happening that are just kind of built into how email works. All that for a rotten crystal sword. I need 178. Meh. But yeah, we, at work, that is the majority of our security events are from users, downloading something malicious from the internet or, downloading something malicious from their email. Both are unfortunately way too common. My last job, we had, it's pretty common for most large companies to have internal email campaigns. where they send phishing or spam emails or whatever to their users. And my last job, we did that, but if you failed, you actually had to go to like mandatory training for cybersecurity. And it was, the training was itself was like fine, it was whatever, but it took a long time to complete the training. So it was actually really effective, because the first time somebody got sent to training, they're like, oh, this is like 4 hours of my life I'm never gonna get back. I have to like watch cybersecurity videos. It wasn't actually 4 hours, but like it was a good chunk of time. It was at least like 30 minutes worth of training. And it was built in a way that you couldn't just like skip through stuff. Like the company that made the training knew what they were doing. No, don't come on me. I do not consent. But yeah, it was pretty crazy how effective it was. I was surprised when I saw our numbers. Oh, you actually have worse stats? I had no idea. Oh, it's the mushroom armor I'm thinking of. I'm a pretty little mushroom boy today. I don't think I ever got Bloodhound Step, did I? I probably need to not stand here and die while I'm looking at my ashes of war. I guess I can just look. Oh, I do have Bloodhound Step, okay. Oh yeah, that'll be nice. But yeah, I think if I wasn't in my current position, cybersecurity would be one of my next choices for what I do as far as IT goes. Do you aggro? You do. Joke's on you, I got a fat bonk for you. Okay. Time to go through the blood. Can't remember if yeah, you can get on this, okay. Ooh. What the fuck are you all? I don't know for sure, but I think the Chrome store has like security checks. and those are usually pretty trustworthy. Google's pretty good about removing stuff from their store if it's malicious. So if it's something that's got a lot of downloads and it hasn't been removed by Google, it's probably safe, generally speaking. Obviously, they're not perfect, but... And I don't know if everything gets reviewed, or like what the threshold is for that. But yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily trust reviews. Because anybody can write a review for a product, you know? It doesn't necessarily matter, or it doesn't necessarily mean the product is safe or anything. Like, it might just be good to use, but it also might be harvesting all of your data. So, but Google specifically is pretty good about keeping their stuff relatively clean. Dude, I do not remember like 90% of this. I guess probably because I don't see it like watching speedruns and stuff, but there's so much of this I do not remember doing. Do I drop down or do I try and make this jump? I think I can probably make this jump. Do I get anything for my trouble? Probably not. Actually, I think this is literally where I came from, isn't it? Something you can do with Firefox that's pretty cool, or I think they're called Firefox profiles. You have like separate user data, separate extensions, and everything. It's pretty crazy. I guess we can get to the top of this building from here. I don't know how much I want on the top of this building, but we'll give it a shot. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're dead. Yep. You also do need, like, if you don't grant any extra permissions, both in Firefox and Chrome, there's not a whole lot of malicious anything they can do on your computer, which I think is a great feature. Yeah, I literally did this last time. Yeah, I was hoping to try and... I was going to try and stay below 200 deaths for this whole run, but that is unfortunately not going to happen. There's no way I make it to Millennia and then kill Millennia with only 3 more deaths. Ow. Especially not with these fucking asshole shrimp, dude. still want to do a bow build in one of the From games, even though I know how horrible it would be. Does Holy do any damage to you? Can you just spam that? Well, I just have to do a bunch of tree parkour to get back up there, if I even can from down here. Any more down here? No. Just outside. Okay. And for my patience, I get an elevator. You're not gonna bully me today. Nope. Maybe you are. Wow, a whole arteria leaf for my troubles. Oops. That's a little more like it. I think it's like 50k runes. Wow, that's a full heal? Damn, bro. Mikola's Lily. That's kind of cheeky on FromSoft's part. They give you like a path somewhere and then no way to get to the archer that's right there. What you looking at, bud? I'm right here. Oh my god, that brought him out of the riposte. What a cool area, man. Nope, that looks like death to me. More cum shrimp, even though I think that way... Ooh, there's a ladder. Shit, hell yeah. That's what we need. Not that I really need my souls at this point, but it's about the principle. It's a long fucking ladder, man. Holy shit. Can we get to the roof of the church from here? We sure can. Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. Another talisman I will probably never use. Hey, hey. Well, it is time to get dicked on. I know 40k like isn't a lot of souls, but I hate losing souls. We need 181, so we need 40k. Please choose the right menu. There's 70, 100, 125, 135. Okay, yeah, we can do it. That's 150 right there. $178, and I need 81, so I need 3k. One of these gives you 3k. And actually, this fight might go smoother than I expect. I haven't done it with Mimic Tier before, but he usually carries his own weight. Oh yeah, cutscene.
I dreamt for so long. My flesh was dull gold, and my blood rotted. Corpse after corpse left in my wake. As I awaited his return. Heed my words. I am Melania, Blade of Mikola. And I have never known defeat.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you and Radon kind of tied. Okay. Maybe don't summon her off the bat then. Holy shit, she can close the gap so fast. I forgot. Okay. Heal. Heal. Do we have time for a golden vow? Sure do. Oh my god, dude, we do buckets of damage. Holy shit, that's crazy. Oh fuck. Okay, yeah, go after him for waterfowl, that's fine. I don't think she gets health back either when she hits him. I should probably save some juice for the next phase. Ooh, teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
Wait. The scarlet bloom flowers once more. You will witness true horror. Now, rot.
Ooh, shit.
Let your flesh
Did not mean to get hit by that.
by the scarlet rot.
That's so disappointing because I totally could have beaten her first try. Jesus. I need to look up how to survive waterfowl again. I used to know. But I obviously haven't played Elden Ring in like a year. Okay, so run away. Yeah, run away from the first one, dodge into the second one, and then dodge away for the third one. I suppose I could put Vikes on out here because that doesn't help my Mimic at all. So I could save myself a little bit of time in the boss arena. Health, mana. Jesus Christ. It's like a fucking truck, dude. Or just let my Mimic tank the waterfowl. That's fine. Oh. Didn't know you had a thing at the end. It's so comical that you can just bully her. How? How? That is death 200. I guess I just need to dodge. My dogs want to go back home. I just need to, I guess I need to dodge into it. I will be right back. I'm going to take the dogs over to the house. Okay. See if I can do better this time around. That is literally half monster and half water, like 50-50. And it's still a little too sweet. That's nutty. Oh, he just golden bowed himself. Interesting. Okay. Oh, maybe she can heal off him. Oh my gosh. I do not understand. Like, getting stagger locked like that is just so tilting. Yeah, so I guess you just have to roll the first attack. That's my bad. I don't know why I thought you could run from it. Alright. So the first time I don't die to absolute bullshit, I beat her. That's crazy.
The mark of a true lord.
Okay, now please spawn your site of grace.
Dear Mikola. Oh, dearest Mikola. My brother. I'm
I
sorry.
guess you don't have a site of grace.
I finally met my match.
Okay. This is scary. Her Scarlet Rot does so much damage, dude. Okay, we made it. I guess we can level up. And we can mark off Loretta and Millennium. And then I suppose I can update my tracker. Yeah, I guess it's time for Radagon. Should I try and eke out another level? I need 189. So I need 31. Those would be pretty round numbers to end on. Wonder how this fight's gonna go. Wonder if it's worth using the Mimic tier here. Guess we will. I'm sure he'll live to see Elden Beast. Dude, he has the best music in the game, hands down. Oh, you did give me time to summon. Cool. Ooh, not much. Oh, you're way tankier than I expected. You got this, Mimic. I have faith. Ooh, big AoE. Okay. Okay, time for Elden Beast. Dude, using summons is actually busted. Like, I feel like I need to do this run again with the same setup and no Mimic. That sword is like 3 of me, dude. we have huge damage. What the hell? I mean, maybe an ethereal one? I don't know. I'm not exactly a Wang expert, to be honest. Oh, I don't know the timing. I'm dead. Fuck. I think I'm gonna buff out here. Doesn't really matter. Flashbang. At least we get to hear his music again. Forget. Shit. Those explode. Oh god. Jesus. It's crazy how squishy I am still. I don't want your cutscene. Leave me alone. Yeah, I would have to play so much more careful without my mimic too. You might as well bubble. I don't think the bubble will break. Okay, good. Get behind. Oh, you're coming after me with that. Okay. Unexpected? That was the worst thing about fighting bosses with seamless co-op on, is that you wouldn't have any idea who was getting aggroed because the bosses can just change in the middle of their attack. Like they can change their targeting completely. One more. GG. And then there's just one boss left in the game. Just one. And I think I'm gonna grab these next levels before we go fight them. Just in case. You never know. Oh, you want me to guard? Okay. Oh, that is kind of effective. That's neat. Since I haven't leveled up fists, since I haven't leveled up strength, my fists do next to no damage. No, I have 0 legendary bosses left. I forgot to update my tracker. I have 1 regular boss left. Make sure we buff up. There he is. Soldier of Godric. Dang, he hits hard. This is literally the tutorial boss. I saved him for the very end because I thought it would be entertaining. I do need to double check like another list because I don't know for sure if Map Genie is correct. Better sip a flask here. Yeah, Elden Beast is the final boss. The little room we got taken to after Elden Beast, we have to go back there to actually finish the game. We have to do our ending still. He's one of the, I shouldn't say one of, he's the final required story boss. Dang, I wonder if all the blood in the water is his or mine. More hits, Godric, you're dead. And that is, to my knowledge, all... Oh, I refreshed the tracker without actually updating the tracker. LOL. That is all bosses as far as I'm aware in Elden Ring. Now I just need to get out of here to use my map. Oh wait, did I go the wrong way? I think I did. The final boss, navigation. And I picked an ending that I have never seen before. I picked the Frenzied Flame ending. Oh, Nintendo, I wish you would standardize your controls with everybody else. What an ending. This is the chaos ending, literally watching the world burn.
Lord of Frenzied Flame. I will seek you as far as you may travel. To deliver you what is yours. Destined death.
Not as climactic when only part of the screen fades out. $47 hours and 17 minutes for all bosses. I'm curious what how long to beat has to say. I oh no, I did not want to watch all the credits. I don't think I watched them the first time either. How is this the main I guess maybe I'm better at Elden Ring than the average bear, but like holy crap. 57.5 hours for the main story. And that's average of 8K people. I did main plus sides. I would say I did somewhere in between main plus sides and completionist because I didn't do any quests. And I did it in less than half of the time that it takes most people for main plus sides. Elden Ring music is really good. It's fantastic. Rushed 35 hours. Rushed main plus extra 64 hours. Dude, that's so crazy to me. I did not feel like I was rushing at all. Now I'm curious what my first playthrough was. Oh. Well then, I deleted my first save. No, you have to be registered. Like I can't contribute here unless I logged in, which I don't even think I have an account here. But yeah, so like it's not going to be biased necessarily. I don't think people would inflate their hours or anything, but so we have 117 hours. So that means my first playthrough took 70 hours. I don't think that's accurate. I think I probably have left my game open. 37 of 42. %of players made it to round table. 74 defeated like the first boss. I guess the second, yeah, first boss, because Shardbearer Godric is not Soldier of Godric. You don't even need to fight Renala to beat the game, I don't think. I'm surprised at how many people played the game this much. That's crazy. Because yeah, Fire Giant is right before you. This is where you set the Erd Tree on fire. So 44 people made it like 3/4 of the way, or like 80% of the way through the story. You don't need to fight Rykard. Do you need to fight the Godskin duo? Yeah, I think you do to make it to Beast Clergyman. I also explored pretty thoroughly in my run just now. Like I think I probably could have gotten that down to maybe 40 hours. Acquired all legendary Ashen Remains, all legendary talismans, all legendary sorceries and incants, all legendary armaments, and all achievements. I think all 4 of these require quests. I don't think it's just purely from picking up items. That's pretty crazy. I'm surprised how many people have actually like played the game. I think Age of Stars is the Ronnie ending. Elden Lord is like the default you didn't do anything ending. So 20% of people did the default one. 27% actually did like a side quest one. Yeah, 8.5% of people globally have all achievements. And these are the 4 that would be like harder to get. The Frenzied Flame ending, I think you could make a save before, I guess right after Fire Giant, you could make a save and then you could go back and do this ending. Because that's how I have both these endings, is at the end, if you did the Ronnie quest line, you can choose between Ronnie or the other ending. So when we finished the game, we chose Ronnie and then we just chose the other ending. But yeah, Lord of the Frenzied Flame would be a little harder to get because it does require more like progress beforehand. Is Millennia in here? Wow. 35% of people have defeated Millennia. That's pretty crazy. Like she's actually the hardest boss in the game. I don't really have a favorite ending because none of them really make sense in game, unless you like put on your big brain hat and think really hard about it. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the story of Elden Ring personally. I don't know, just there's too much like exposition and assumption that have to be made to actually like get anything of value out of the story. There's like, I love the world building and like the history of the world, but the actual story of your Tarnish just kind of meh, in my opinion. I don't really think any of the endings are that good. I wonder if there's a good endings explained video. Come on, Vati, don't let me down. Okay. I like Gingy's videos.
This video is about the story of Elden Ring. This will cover all the important characters relevant to the main story, including most bosses and some NPCs, as well as explain what happened before we arrive in the lands between, who we play as, and what the endings of the game mean. Sections of this video are separated via chapters located on the timeline should you need to rewatch a specific section again. As always, spoiler warning, I needed a consort who would then be Godfrey.
Yeah, I can click on my achievements. It should just be the same list, but just what date I got everything. So yeah, I only got 2 achievements. I shouldn't say this playthrough. I got 4 achievements this playthrough. My first one, I didn't fight Makar, Regal Ancestor Spirit, or Fortisax, and then I didn't get the Frenzy Flame ending. And then looks like we beat the game on August 30th. So we must have stopped playing after fighting Horaloo. When did we fight Millennia? August 28th. I started playing June 14th. And then, did I take a break? I thought maybe I did. Maybe not. For some reason, I thought I played a little bit by myself and then started co-op, but I guess not. I think this is mostly all co-op. Took me 2 months to beat this game in co-op. Over 2 months. It's pretty crazy.
And now that Godfrey was her husband, he also received the title of Elden Lord, making him the first Elden Lord. This isn't entirely true, as there is a lore that does suggest the very first Elden Lord was possibly Dragon Lord Placidus that we fight in Fara Missoula, but I think either no one knew of the Dragon Lord or Godfrey was the first Elden Lord during his own age, which was the Age of the Erd Tree, which was much later than when Placidus was Elden Lord. Regardless, Godfrey and Marika had 2 kids, which were Godwyn and Godric. This is easily identifiable thanks to the God prefix in their names. There were more kids besides them, but more on them later. During this time, war had been going on against the Golden Order, and another person named Radagon had been involved in the conflict, but decided to usher peace by marrying Lady
I guess I can put a, oh wait, I'm not, this isn't 1080p. One of these is cropped, maybe? No. No. Well, what the hell? Why did I get rid of my cropped stuff? Either that or I never actually fixed it. Hold on. We'll do it live. We'll do some surgery. No. No, I definitely need that too. Can I just fit to screen? Would that work? Nope. I have like the world's shittiest keyboard for my streaming PC too. So it just is painful to do this. Yeah, unfortunately. The problem is when I was streaming before I got my new monitor, that was only in oh god. Oh no. Okay, that might be, and then just move it up. I was capturing in 1080 from my desktop. So now I am capturing in 3440 and then like doing some stuff in OBS to make it work / look the way it did before. Oh, I can't tell where the black begins. There it is. Okay. So now I have to, like, I can't just be like, go back to what you were used to doing. I have to actually, like, make it.
Nala, queen of the Carian royal family. When the two were together, they ended up having children as well, being named Radahn, Rykard, and Rani. Once again, all of them start with an R, just like Radagon and Renala's first name. After the war had finished, it was said that the hue of Godfrey's eyes had faded, possibly meaning he had served his purpose and was no longer needed, as soon after he was exiled and became the very first Tarnished. But now Marika is without a consort, so she sought out Radagon. Radagon then left Renala and joined Marika at the Erd Tree and became her new husband and the new Elden Lord. And since he was an Elden Lord, his children by proxy were allowed to be a part of the royal family, which is why they have thrones at the royal capital despite not being Marika's offspring. Once again, Radagon and Marika were together and they had even more kids, that being the twins Mikola and Melania. This may stir up some confusion, as I just mentioned that an Empyrean has to be born from a single god, yet Ranni, Miquella, and Melania were all born by two parents. Well, as we discover later in the game, Marika is Radagon. There's a statue in Lindell that has a riddle that says regression alone reveals secrets. By using the spell Laws of Regression in front of the statue, it changes its form and the text changes to Radagon is Marika. Now, I'll be completely honest, it is never explained how this happened and what exactly this means, and it's probably the biggest question that has been unanswered so far in the community. Some have come up with some theories regarding this, such as the two being separate entities who were fused together somehow, or it's one body that suffers from dissociative identity disorder. However, the other question that remains is who was first, although I do believe there is an answer to this. Given the Empyrean status and the greater will giving her the lands between, I think Queen Marika was first. But this riddle now explains why Radagon left Rennala for Marika and why Miquella and Melania are considered Empyrean since their parents are the same person, which then fits the rules of that one god stipulation. This has been quite the family tree, so a huge shout out to JustAmBlingOn on Reddit for creating this easy to read graphic. The only outliers here at the moment are Marika's parents, but seeing as she's an Empyrean, it's not as simple to answer, plus we get zero info on her parents anyway. But besides them, the only one left is Malekith, Marika's shadow and the keeper of the Rune of Death. According to his armor description, Malekith is actually her half-brother who wielded a blade imbued with the Rune of Death. This is a good time to explain this, as if you noticed from the actual description, it says Destined Death. Well, the finger reader at the round table hold clarifies that the Rune of Death goes by two names and the other is Destined Death.
The Rune of Death goes by two names. The other is Destined Death. The forbidden shadow plucked from the Golden Order upon its creation.
For simplicity's sake, unless entirely necessary, I will refer to it as just the Rune of Death to avoid any further confusion. The final character of this family tree we haven't thoroughly talked about is Ranni. Earlier in the game, a witch known as Renna meets with us. However, this is Ranni. She's just using a different name in order to disguise her identity. Ranni was born under Rennala and Radagon, two separate people, yet is considered an Empyrean. It's still not clear as to why this is the case, but my only working theory is that Rennala is her adoptive mother, but we'll discuss that in the bosses chapter. Regardless, it's not that big of a deal anyway, since she didn't want to be an Empyrean. This sequence of events would eventually lead to the Shattering. Depending on who you ask, the Shattering might be considered the greatest war ever fought or the worst tragedy the land has ever seen. Ranni, wanting to be anything but an Empyrean, worked against Marika, the Greater Will, and the Two Fingers and devised a plan. One day, she stole the Rune of Death from Malekith. With that power, she created daggers able to kill the demigods. On that same night, called the Night of the Black Knives, a group of assassins called the Black Knife Assassins would kill the first demigod, Godwyn. It's also interesting to note here that according to the Black Knife armor description, all of the members of this group were women, and they're all rumored to be Numen, which you may remember as one of the default races in the character creation. They also have...
I don't know if it will cover it in the video, but Melina, the maiden that we receive, is actually a Black Knife assassin. If you summon her, if you choose a different ending, so if you don't embrace the Frenzied Flame like I did, she will be summonable for more gods, I think. And she has like an assassin's blade and like the Black Knife moveset and everything.
Close ties to Marika, which may mean that Marika is of Numen descent. It doesn't really give us much regarding her backstory, but it is worth knowing anyway. Back to the intro, when Godwyn was killed, he had a mark on his body. This is considered the Curse Mark of Death, an item we could receive during Ranni's questline. This curse mark appeared the moment Godwyn was killed, but this symbol, however, is incomplete as it should have been a full circle. The reason it's only half is because two demigods died at the same time, breaking the curse in two half circles. The other god was Ranni herself. As Ranni says, she wanted to strip away her Empyrean flesh so that nothing of her was related to the Two Fingers. Both of these demigods had the opposite happen to them. Ranni's body was dead, but her soul lived on, and Godwyn's soul was destroyed, but his body survived. This not only explains why Ranni's new body is a doll, but also why Godwyn was seemingly reborn after he was killed. Godwyn was given the name the Prince of Death because of this encounter and is related to Fia's questline where she tries to resurrect him. After hearing the news of Godwyn's death, Marika, possibly in a fit of rage, shattered the Elden Ring. One thing to remember, of course, is the distinction between Radagon and Marika, because Marika's hammer reads the tool with which Queen Marika shattered the Elden Ring, and Radagon attempted to repair it. This is once again left up to the community to decide as it's never explained, but my working theory, and furthermore my theory between Radagon and Marika, is that originally they were separate people, but something fused them together, possibly the greater will. In regards to the shattering situation, I think each of them, despite being the same person, act differently, which explains why Marika specifically broke the ring and why Radagon specifically is trying to repair it. With the shards of the Elden Ring scattered everywhere across the lands between, all the demigods were attempting to gather all the shards. The intro then shows a slideshow of some of the demigods, like Mo the Lord of Blood taking Mikola away, a serpent biting a helmet which is related to Rykard, symbolizing how he became the Lord Serpent, and then the iconic fight between Malenia and Radahn. The problem is that during this war, nobody won. The land was stuck in a stalemate, with the demigods that were left standing holding pieces of the Elden Ring, but nobody was close to owning all of them. This stalemate left things unchanged, and the land was covered in ruins, with some areas like Caelid being covered in rot and disease. Furthermore, none of the demigods are making moves on each other, as they preferred to defend their land rather than fight to take others' land and subsequently the shards. So something was needed to break.
So Radahn and Malenia were the two most powerful. Like, they had the largest armies and they were the best fighters out of all the demigods. So it's interesting that they both, story-wise, have a reason that they couldn't pursue anything. If Malenia leaves the Halig Tree, I believe her Scarlet Rot progresses quite a bit. And then Radahn was infected by Scarlet Rot. We're still kind of like setting up the basics of the story in this video, but essentially there are a bunch of gods. One of them didn't want to be a god, so she started assassinating the other gods, including herself. She had herself killed. And that started a war because the top god decided that they were upset, basically. And then we're covering that war right now and going over like the rest of the gods.
Like the stalemate, which is where we come in. We are called Tarnished. During the age before the shattering, called the Age of the Erd Tree, the golden power of the Erd Tree would drop down from its branches and spread across the lands between. It blessed many throughout the land, but also refused to bless others for an unknown reason. These people were considered tarnished, those who aren't worthy of the Erd Tree and are looked down upon by the eyes of the Golden Order. This exile we received is similar to Godfrey's exile, as he was deemed useless by the Greater Will and the Golden Order, which is symbolized by him losing the golden color in his eyes. We are deemed unworthy by the Greater Will, so it has no use for us in the lands between, which means we're considered tarnished and are forced to leave. But when the shattering occurred, the lands between was in disarray, and because it still wanted to hold on to its power, the Greater Will blessed the previously exiled Tarnished in hopes that it will return and restore the Golden Order. It was even able to bless many Tarnished who are dead like us. Of the other Tarnished, the important ones listed in the intro are Horalu, Chieftain of the Badlands, the Brilliant Gold Mask, Fia the Deathbed Companion, the Loathsome Dung Eater, and Gideon Ulfnir the All-Knowing. Our objective as this new Tarnished is to cross the fog back into the lands between, stand before the Elden Ring, and become the Elden Lord. The key here, however, is Elden Lord, not the ruler, meaning we are never meant to usurp Marika from her position, merely bring the runes together so that everything can go back to normal.
Confer great runes to become Elden Lord and join Queen Marika as her consort. The fingers have willed it so.
This, however, did not happen, thanks to us committing the very first cardinal sin later in the game, which was the burning of the Erd Tree, and more on that a bit later. So as a tarnished resident of the lands between, we are eagerly ready to take on the demigods until we're killed by the first enemy we face. But we are somehow able to get back up again. Vare, right at the beginning of the game, explains that the guidance of grace, the same light that guides us towards the bosses in-game, is what gives us tarnished life, meaning it can revive us. It's also possible that the Rune of Death also affects affects us too, since the removal of the rune made people immortal in the lands between, which may explain our revival. For those who don't know, most if not all the Soulsborne games always had a reason as to why death was canon, so it's hard to believe that it wouldn't exist in Elden Ring 2. After exploring the lands between, we'll run into Melina, the girl from earlier in the intro. She tells us that she will become our finger maiden since we are maidenless, except later she apologizes as she isn't actually a maiden. So she offers us a deal. If we can continue to work with her and bring her to the foot of the Erd Tree so that she can meet with her mother and discover her purpose, she will continue to act as our maiden and allow us to level up. There's a lot more to Melina's story, but I'll save that for later when we discuss the endings. After some time, she will then introduce us to the Round Table Hold, the covert operation base for the Two Fingers, and a place where tarnished champions guided by grace can reside. Most of them, however, don't seem too keen on becoming Elden Lord. In fact, it only really feels like us and Gideon are really working towards that goal. Many of them just seem to want to save shelter away from the danger outside. According to Gideon, we aren't going to get a proper welcome into the Round Table though until we defeat a Shardbearer, and the first one we can defeat is Godric. But before we meet Godric, we have to talk about Margit. Margit, the Fell Omen, is a recurring character.
That doesn't really make sense to me why we wouldn't be welcomed into Round Table Hold until we defeat a Shardbearer. Because if that was like the requirement, generally speaking, none of the other people in Round Table have defeated a Shardbearer, right? Like, we have the Great Runes. Unless there are multiple sets of Great Runes, which I don't think there are. It's kind of a weird requirement. Like, there's like 20 people that have been accepted in a Round Table, and then all of a sudden Gideon's like, yeah, we got a little bit more strict membership requirement now. You got to go kill a demigod.
In the game, as he not only shows up again in the Altuist Plateau, but also shows up at the foot of the Erd Tree under the name Morgoth the Omen King. Earlier I talked about children we haven't discussed yet, and that is Morgoth and Mo. If you remember from before, we talked about how Miquella and Melania are twins. This is the same with Morgoth and Mo. Godric's Great Rune says that Elden Lord Godfrey and his offspring were the very first demigods, and that line of children was known as the Golden Lineage. Morgoth's rune says that he was a part of this golden lineage, and Mo's Great Rune says that him and Morgoth are twins, so it makes sense that they're a part of the lineage together. However, a curse afflicted both of them. Omen babies born of royalty do not have their horns cut, but instead are kept underground and imprisoned for eternity. It seems that they were permanently chained, as we can find an item called Margit's Shackle, which is a small part of a few larger shackles that were made to bind Margit. Morgoth, once again also known as Margit, was cursed, but it seems like he didn't hold any ill will against the Golden Order, as despite never being loved by anyone, he still continued to give out his own love and become the Erd Tree's protector. As for his twin, during his imprisonment, Mo was sought out by someone only known as the Formless Mother. The Formless Mother is an outer god similar to the Greater Will, but with more sinister plans. He, by the will of the Formless Mother, was attempting to make Miquella the new ruler of the lands between. He would then...
And the Greater Will is just like God, like the creator of the universe, God. And they're the ones, they don't have direct influence on the world, but they can do stuff like bring a tarnished back, for example, like us. And then like try and influence the Golden Order, stuff like that.
Rule as his consort, and the Formless Mother would then be able to control the lands between, just as the Greater Will can now. Miquella and Melania once again were twins born from Radagon and Marika, and since they're the same person, this fit within the rules of them being an Empyrean. This explains why Mo wants Miquella as the ruler and not himself, because he isn't an Empyrean. According to more item descriptions, the Formless Mother only seeks out those of accursed blood, which is why he was chosen. It also seems like he couldn't just make Miquella become the ruler right away, because Miquella hasn't achieved full godhood yet. It's unclear why, but it could be related to Miquella's own curse, something we'll discuss a bit later. Getting back on track, after Margit we can meet with Godric the Grafted. Godric rose to power through the act of grafting. According to Rajir, he states that there are tarnished hunters in this castle that will take our corpse to Godric so that we can be grafted to him. It's clear that Godric ruled his castle with fear, as not many would dare oppose him out of fear of becoming a part of him. So it's quite hilarious when you return to his arena and find one of his servants kicking his corpse repeatedly. Godric was a feeble old man with no real power, but he wanted to prove to the others that he deserved the title of Lord by using fear and manipulation to get his way. But it's quite obvious that he's bluffing, as without the grafting, he's barely even a competent fighter. Our next boss we meet is Lady Renala, Queen of the Full Moon. The Academy of Raya Lucaria was at odds with a group called the Carian royal family. Both practiced different versions of glintstone magic and attempted to be the better sorcerers, but due to the age of the Erd Tree, many of its residents in the lands between found power and hope in the Golden Order, making glintstone sorcery useless. The royal family then withered away during this time, and so did the Academy, but it wasn't until the Shattering that the Academy had a resurgence in power. In her youth, Renala became a prominent champion who charmed the Academy with her lunar magic. She also commanded the Glintstone Knights and established the House of Caria as royalty. However, despite being a champion and a renowned sorceress, she became heartbroken thanks to Radagon leaving her. She then became a shell of her former self, and it was only then that the Academy members discovered that she wasn't a champion after all. Later, the Academy would then rebel against the Carian royal family, then lock her away in the Grand Library. Shortly after this, the Shattering would occur, so the Academy was permanently locked down as no one wanted to participate in the Shattering, so they were left out of the destruction. Upon entering the Grand Library, we can see a ton of kids as well as Lady Renala holding an amber egg in her arms. After defeating her first phase, Ranni starts speaking, saying that we're trespassing and are not allowed to disturb her. As we know, Ranni is the daughter of Renala, but this doesn't make a whole lot of sense though, as Ranni is an Empyrean who was born from two parents, which leads me to believe that Renala is the adoptive mother and not the birth mother of Ranni. Regarding this whole sequence, I also think this was a spell casted by Ranni just in case anyone had intentions of harming Renala. Not only is the boss arena completely different, but right after defeating her again, we can see that she is just lying on the ground. This leads me to believe that this spell was an illusion made by Ranni so that she could protect her. That egg she carries, however, is the last thing ever given to her by Radagon before he left. It seems to also have the power of rebirth, so either she is holding on to this item because he gave it to her and it's quite precious to her, or she's possibly waiting for the eventual rebirth of Radagon through this egg. I hope it's not the latter, as that wish won't come true since Radagon is clearly alive. Regardless of its significance, it's clear that Renala still hasn't gotten over her ex-husband and has been ruined because of it. She is no longer the Queen of the Full Moon and is barely even a sorcerer anymore. During her boss fight, the kids are actually more troublesome than she is, with her only attack being the occasional chandelier falling. After fending off the illusion, we then can return to Renala, who gives up her great rune.
The illusion theory is pretty interesting because, I mean, how powerful would Ranni have to have been to conjure up an illusion like that, right? Like, not only is she displaying Renala at her first full power, it's like through an illusion. That's pretty nutty.
And offers us a chance to respec our stats. Seeing as we have the Great Rune and she is clearly in no state to fight, there's no reason to kill her, so we just let her live. Our third boss is Radahn, who resides in Caelid, a land that has been infested with scarlet rot thanks to Melania and her curse. Radahn is considered a champion of the Shattering and may have one of the best backstories in this whole game. When Radahn was younger, he looked up to Godfrey as he loved how strong he was in battle. So when Radahn was able to wear his own personal armor, he had a chest piece made with a lion on the front to symbolize Godfrey's beast regent, Siraj. He also looked up to his father and was proud of his accomplishments, so he grew out his long red hair and wore it with pride. As he grew older, he started taking after these two figures in his life and wanted to become as strong as they were. But whether it was because of genetics or the amount of strength he received during this, he started growing in size. This troubled him, as due to his size and weight, he wouldn't be able to ride his horse that he's had for his whole life. So he went to Sela in Caelid, which is called the Town of Sorcery. It was there where he learned gravitational magic and was able to manipulate the ground around him and be able to call swords to his hands, but more importantly, he was also able to affect his own body weight, meaning he could ride his horse without crushing it. We know this not only because we can see him do many attacks while using gravity, but the symbol for gravity magic is the same symbol on his swords. Furthermore, it's known that the Elden Ring commands the stars just as it commands the other concepts of the world like life and death, but General Radahn is considered the Star Scourge and seems to be able to control the stars. This is because the cutscene after his death has all the previous stars held in the sky by him come crashing down, one of which actually lands right near us, causing a massive explosion. But the difference between General Radahn and many of the other boss fights is that it's not a normal boss fight, as upon entering Caelid and making our way to the back of the castle, we can see that there is other people here. Blythe and Alexander are here, assuming you met with them prior, as well as other characters we may meet in the future like Okina, Lionel, and Targeth. The reason they are here is because they're all participating in the Radahn Festival, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where you can face General Radahn in battle and claim his great great rune. We can summon all these people to fight with us, including many people who weren't there for the festival, such as a Finger Maiden and even Patches. The organizer of the festival gives us a backstory of Radahn and his...
If you summon Patches for the fight, he literally just runs away. It's great. One interesting thing that he didn't mention about Radahn holding back the stars is the meteor that he is holding back was originally supposed to hit Sela, the town he learned his sorceries in. So one theory is that he was holding back the stars to prevent Sela from being destroyed. It was already destroyed because of the Scarlet Rot and everything. Well, maybe you should have watched the video I sent you then, bud. Yeah, Vati talked about it in his Scarlet Rot video that he put out a couple weeks ago. But yeah, so the meteor that hits in Liurnia was actually supposed to strike in Sela, and he didn't have an explanation for it in his video why it switched locations. It's possible that the prediction of it hitting Sela was just wrong. Or it's possible that just Radahn holding back the stars and the world rotating are two separate events. So I think the latter is probably the more likely answer. If we had killed Radahn at a different time canonically, maybe that meteor would have struck a different location. But yeah, that's the reason he's holding back the stars, is to prevent Sela from being destroyed, most likely.
Current state is not too great. If you recall from an old trailer, Malenia and Radahn fought at this very place. Well, during this fight, Malenia pierced Radahn, injecting Scarlet Rot into his body. Do you remember earlier when I said that the twins were cursed? Well, whereas Mikola is cursed to an eternal childhood, never becoming anything older than a boy, Malenia is cursed by being forced to harbor a rot within inside her body. All the rot in Caelid is most likely because of her. We can see the effect that it has on her face and limbs, but when we get to phase 2 of the boss fight, we can not only see how much of her body's been affected, but also how much control she has over this disease. Getting back to Radahn, she ended up using this rot to corrupt him. Now he is just a blood-hungry beast, with the only thing on his mind about what his next meal is going to be and what the next kill will be. This festival seems to have been created by Radahn himself or by an organizer trying to help Radahn. Jiren is the name of the organizer here at the castle, and after defeating Radahn, he thanks us for the fight, as not only was that a spectacular battle, but we were able to give Radahn his final wish, which was to die an honorable death. He couldn't stand the current state he was living in and wanted someone to end his life, but it would be dishonorable for a general like him to die from suicide or surrender, so an honorable fight to the death was the only way for him to feel at peace. But now that General Radahn is dead, there is only one rune left. Praetor Rykard is a unique case in the world of the Lands Between. He lies at the bottom of Mount Gelmir, the location of the most appalling battle in the Shattering. Rykard committed the grave sin of blasphemy. He spoke out against the Golden Order as he was bothered by the Greater Will and the Golden Order's willingness to just cast aside those deemed unworthy for no reason. Many people would flock to Rykard and his castle, the Volcano Manor, but people started having doubts about his decision. A spirit near the castle is seen atop a pile of bodies in pain and says that if he had known that this blasphemy would have caused this much destruction, he wouldn't have tolerated his decision. Given that many of those in the Lands Between believe in the Golden Order, it's quite obvious why many would hate Rykard and his followers, as they're actively going against what they preach. This probably led to many crusades against Rykard, which negatively impacted the livelihoods of all his people. Upon entering the manor, we can meet Tanith. She then asks us if we've ever harbored any doubts about the guidance of grace and the Golden Order, and if we do say yes, then she'll invite us to the Volcano Manor family. She goes on to explain that the Tarnished were blessed with grace like everyone else in the Lands Between, but it's clear that the Tarnished didn't get their fair share. Rykard refused to bow down to this and believes that if the Erdtree would debase them, then they're willing to go against the Golden Order even if it's considered heresy. So as a member, our job is to seek out those who are aligned with the Erdtree and the Golden Order. This is in the form of a few NPCs we are tasked with invading, but the manor also gives us a recusant finger, which allows us to invade other players' worlds. So all the players creatures we invade are technically the Tarnish he speaks of, which is why we're tasked with eliminating them. After a few contracts have been completed, upon coming back, we see a spirit sitting in the corner. He's preaching to the manor and hopes someone will heed his words. He wants us to eliminate the Great Serpent, the one who devoured Praetor Rykard. Seeing as it was him against the whole kingdom, since everyone disagreed with him and continued to align with the Golden Order, Praetor Rykard required more power so that he may fight on an even level. This is when he met the Great Serpent. It seems that the serpent promised him power as long as Rykard was willing to be eaten by him. Rykard agreed and became the Lord Serpent. Thankfully, this spirit has given us a way to defeat him by letting us know of the power that resides in the Serpent Hunter, a weapon specifically designed to kill the serpent. The fight is quite trivial with this weapon, as it should be, but during his second phase he pulls out a sword, and as we can see from the weapon, it has moving hands, which were all from his previous victims. It's quite sad to think about all the people in their past lives and accomplishments now being withered down to nothing, as now they're just a part of the serpent family stuck in this hell forever. We can actually talk to some of the members of the Volcano Matter after defeating Rykard, and none of them seem upset. Bernal believes that the strong take and the weak suffer, so by killing him we prove that Rykard was weak. Tanith even agrees and thanks us for showing them how weak Rykard really was. The only problem is that Rykard's immortal. It just takes time for him to get back to full strength, and should we return to the boss arena, we can see Rykard's body repairing itself while Tanith holds him. So it seems that Rykard will eventually come back. How long that will take is unknown, but just like before, we have the Great Runes, so currently our job is done. With all the Great Runes in our possession, we can travel to Lindell, the royal capital, and go to the Erd Tree. Here's where we meet numerous knights and tree sentinels, truly showing how powerful this army really is. There is also a 1-to-1 version of the Round Table Hold in here. This is most likely the real Round Table, and the one we're taken to is just a copy, since the shattering ruined much of the land and caused its residents to close off its walls. As we remember, only certain people can enter the Round Table. It's not a building that people can just waltz right into, which may explain why on the map the Round Table Hold is off to the very side, symbolizing that it's separate than the one in the lands between. On top of this, since we made it to the capital, Melina leaves our side since we fulfilled our deal and brought her to the Erd Tree. But when we ourselves get close to the Erd Tree, Godfrey attempts to stop us. This is clearly a spirit version of him, and it's possible given the golden color that it's Godfrey's remembrance from during the war before he was a Tarnished. All the remembrances we gather in-game are memories of the bosses, and these memories are all a part of the Erd Tree. Later in the game, we will actually end up fighting Godfrey in his actual form, but when we defeat him, he drops the remembrance of Horalu, not the remembrance of Godfrey, which leads me to my previous conclusion. After him is when we meet Morgott, and since we already discussed him quite a bit, I won't repeat myself. However, he does let us know who the thrones are for, which was Godric, Mikola, Melania,
The remembrances being like memories of the people you fought is pretty interesting, because that's like what you get in Sekiro for defeating bosses, and that's like how you gain I don't know, I think it's not your actual stats, but it's like your straight attack power, is by reliving or meditating on those memories. So it's kind of interesting that they did something very similar in Elden Ring, like almost like it's a continuation of the thought.
Radahn, Rykard, and Ranni. He also calls them all traitors, which is quite interesting. I think it's because Morgott believes that they are fighting so they can claim the power of the Elden Ring for themselves and become the new Elden Lord, but Morgott, being the protector of the Erd Tree, finds this a disgraceful act, as it's clear that they only really care about the power that comes with the Elden Lord title, and not about protecting the Erd Tree and the Golden Order. After defeating Morgott, we can talk to him momentarily, and he calls us a fool, saying that the Erd Tree doesn't open for anyone, and that no one will be able to claim the title of Elden Lord, and it seems that Morgott himself tried to attempt this and wasn't allowed inside. To prove his statement, we walk up the steps and discover we can't enter. The Erd Tree has rejected us. The Erd Tree is covered by impassable thorns that cannot be cut. Melina then arrives again and explains to be Elden Lord we must pass through the thorns, and the only way to burn them is to go to the snowy mountaintops of the giants and use its smoldering flame to set the Erd Tree on fire. We can then talk to the Finger Reader back at the Round Table Hold to get more insight on this, and she goes on to explain that because of this sudden turn of events, which is us being rejected by the Erd Tree, the Two Fingers is currently consulting with the Greater Will, but we likely won't get an answer for thousands of years. We then tell her our immediate plan to burn the thorns and is shocked by the idea, claiming that the snowy mountains is not a place for mere men and that burning the Erd Tree is the first cardinal sin, something the Fingers and the Greater Will never agree to. Furthermore, we then explain our next step in the process, which is to unleash the Rune of Death. When we make it to the highest point in the mountains, we talk with Melina, who tells us that she will be the kindling required to burn the tree. Earlier, the Finger Reader told us that this ritual requires a sacrifice, and Melina is willing to be that sacrifice. Before she disappears, though, she does deliver a few words and goes on to say that throughout her life, she has seen death and discrimination everywhere, convincing her that the Lands Between is in dire need of repair. This sort of implies that she has lived quite a long life, something that connects to a theory of mine later in the game. As we touch hands once more, she takes our power and uses it and the smoldering flames nearby to create a flame big enough to set her and the tree ablaze. Afterwards, we wake up in Fara Missoula. Not much is known about this place, but I believe this was the temple in the sky. Throughout the Lands Between are ruins of a fallen city. The ruin fragments we pick up are believed to be a part of a temple in the sky, and the only place in-game that fits that description would be Fara Missoula. As we explore the area, we run into the Beast Clergyman again, the same one in Caelid who we give the death root to, assuming you followed through with that questline. He then attacks us since we are clearly here to steal the Rune of Death from him, and he doesn't want it stolen again. This is a nice piece of foreshadowing, as soon after defeating him, he reveals his true form to be Malekith the Black Blade, the shadow of Marika and the owner of the Rune of Death. Now it makes sense why we were feeding him Deathroot during his questline, as the description reads, after the death of Godwyn, the Rune of Death spread across the Lands Between through the underground roots of the Great Tree, sprouting in the form of Deathroot. Malekith, being the owner of the Rune of Death, would obviously want his power back, so by consuming the Deathroot, we are giving it back to him. Upon his death, a weird object sprouts from his shadowy ashes. This is the Rune of Death, and because it's unbound, the Lands Between are now shrouded in a dark fate, and the Greater Will is not happy about that. We pass out again and awake in Lindell, but now it's covered in ashes. It seems like we have a straight path to the Erd Tree now, but nothing is ever simple in this game. Blocking our path is Gideon and Godfrey. Gideon appears in Godfrey's chamber and the long-awaited fight ensues. Gideon and us have been gunning for the Elden Lord position all game, so it was only a matter of time before we faced off together, except that's not what's happening. Gideon immediately says that nobody will become the Elden Lord, and that Marika has plans for all of us, and that plan being that we struggle for eternity. So why this sudden change of heart? Gideon, during his journey to obtain all knowledge, may have uncovered some details about Marika that changed his mind. The all-knowing helmet description reads, knowledge begins with the recognition of one's ignorance, the realization that the search of knowledge is unending. But when Gideon glimpsed into the will of Queen Marika, he shuddered in fear. At the end, that should not be. Something terrified Gideon so much that completely changed his mind about being the Elden Lord. My guess was most likely the relationship between the Greater Will and Marika, or maybe even the Elven Beast as well. As for Godfrey, he appears in normal human form this time, and we can see him holding Morgott in his arms. Godfrey then spots us and recognizes us immediately as the Tarnished Warrior, the one who's been conquering many before him. Godfrey wants to obtain the Elden Lord title again, and since that conflicts with our goals, we have to fight him. After half his health is gone, he uses Sarash to gain more power and reveals that his true form is Horalu, the chieftain of the Badlands. When Godfrey and the other Tarnished had been forced out of the Lands Between, this act was called the Long March, and when the Long March had finished, Godfrey and the other Tarnished had started their own civilization. And it was during this time that Godfrey possibly wanted to cut all ties away from him in the Lands Between, so he adopted the name Horalu. However, with Godfrey finished, nothing stands in our way. When we enter the room, we see Marika chained to a part of the Elden Ring, but eventually she breaks free, but her hair turns red, and we realize that Radagon is now in control. It seems to me that their bodies change when one takes control, as Marika and Radagon seem to have different physiques when viewed up close, like Marika having a skinnier body in the absence of breasts when Radagon is in control. This may not be entirely true, however, since it's quite hard to look at their bodies while you're being attacked, but this at least confirms that there are two people in one body. However, we still don't know if they were two separate people that then became one, or if it was always one body to begin with. After the fight is over, Radagon starts becoming engulfed in a black mist as a hand reaches out and takes him underneath the pool of sludge. Out of this sludge arises the Elden Beast, probably one of the coolest looking bosses in the Soulsborne franchise. We've already discussed the Elden Beast in detail earlier, but as a reminder, the Elden Beast is the vassal for the Greater Will and is the living embodiment of the concept of order. But the question is, why are we fighting Radagon and the Elden Beast in the first place? Remember, the point of our journey was to become the Elden Lord and be a consort for Marika, so why are they killing the one person who is able to fill that role? One is possibly due to the fact that we are tarnished, and even attempting to become Elden Lord does go against the Golden Order, but it may also have to do with the Greater Will and a secret agenda that it has. It's clear that the Greater Will wants Marika as the ruler of the Lands Between, and to have the Elden Ring repaired so the Golden Order can be stable again. But since that stalemate occurred, it needed help, which is why I called the Tarnished back to the Lands Between. The Greater Will more than likely had a plan in mind, but since we burned the Erd Tree and unbound the Rune of Death, it most likely casted all of that aside and just opted to kill us as we committed a cardinal sin. Regardless of its intentions, the Elden Beast is defeated and the Greater Will seems to have no power over the Lands Between anymore. It's unclear whether or not the Greater Will is truly dead though, or if its power is truly gone, as the Elden Beast is just a vassal for the Greater Will, which is much different than a vessel. Marika is a vessel for the Elden Ring, whereas the Elden Beast is a vassal for the Greater Will, so it acts in accordance to the Greater Will's wishes. So I think the Greater Will still does exist in some way, but doesn't really have as much control over the Lands Betweens as it used to. With the Elden Beast slain, we now reach the ending of the game, and it's here where I have to be a bit honest with all of you. I don't know all the endings of Elden Ring, and depending on when you watch this video, you don't either. Despite what many believe, there is in fact more than 4 endings in the game, and at the time of making this video, there is a total of 6 confirmed endings with a 7th still under investigation. I normally don't make these videos until everything has been discovered so we can get the full picture, but this could take an undetermined amount of time to figure out, so if you'll forgive me, I'd like to discuss these endings with all of you anyway.
Yeah, and that's like referring to the fact that FromSoft just doesn't ever make anything easy. Case in point, accessing the DLC in any of the From games is a chore. In DS1, you have to kill the Hydra, talk to what's-her-face at the entrance to the DLC, then, depending on where you are in the game, go back to the library and kill one specific crystal golem thing, and then go back to the Hydra once again. There's not a whole lot of information like in the game telling you that's what you need to do either. So yeah, FromSoft just like loves to hide everything. And I don't actually know if those other endings have been discovered yet.
So the very first ending is the default one, that all players will be able to obtain, which is the Age of Fracture. This shows the player mending the body and runes back together and becoming the Elden Lord like we set out to do. The Lands Between seems to go back to normal, but is a fractured version of what it once was thanks to the Shattering and all the demigods we slayed on our path here. The next 3 endings are all tied to character quests and are the same ending but with slight alterations in 2 different places. The Age of Duskborn is from Fia's questline, where we use the mending rune of the Death Prince she provides us at the end of her questline as a way to mend all the runes back together. But instead of it being a normal looking pattern, the curse mark appears at the bottom, and instead of a normal looking sky, there's a gray mist that covers the land. This seems to imply that the Rune of Death is back in the Elden Ring, which hasn't happened since before Marika's reign, meaning the death will come to the Lands Between once more, and immortality is a thing of the past. The Blessing of Despair is the 3rd version of this ending, and is activated upon completion of the Dung Eater questline, and using the Mending Rune of the Fell Curse, which leaves a sizable clump of disease on Marika's body. The land once again changes, but to a brown and reddish tint, and possibly implies that the Dung Eater got his wish. He has a dream of blessing the people with a curse that starts with all the people he's defiled and killed. They will then be reborn and create children who harbor their curse, and those children will have their own children who harbor that curse until everyone is afflicted by it. The 4th variation of this ending that we know of is the Age of Order, which is done by completing Brother Corrin and the Gold Mask questline, where on the body of the Gold Mask will be the Mending Rune of Perfect Order needed to complete this ending. Just as before, it's the exact same ending with the same differences. This rune is of a transcendental ideology that will attempt to perfect the Golden Order. This is symbolized in the pattern being the same as before, but with a large circle around it. As for the differences, the sky seems to be the same golden color, but now the Erd Tree is golden once again. Our last 2 endings are different from the ones we have discussed so far. The Lord of Frenzied Flame is the opposite of the other endings that we just discussed, where the Tarnished will become the Lord of Chaos. They then burn the Erd Tree and most likely leave the lands between. To do this, you must complete the quest route of the Three Fingers, which ends with the Three Fingers grabbing and marking you. However, depending on when you do this, another cutscene will play. If done after Melina sacrifices herself, then the ending plays out like normal. But if you're marked upon arriving, Melina leaves your side and promises that if you go down this path, she will have no choice but to hunt you down. Now, if you choose this ending, every other ending is locked, unless you use an item called Miquella's Needle, which reverts the marking, allowing you to choose the other endings again. This is why she mentions that part about going down the current path, is we do have the option to change our mind. But assuming we don't and Melina knows that we're marked, a second cutscene will play, where Melina grabs what is presumed to be the whistle we used to summon Torrent and then vows to hunt us down. We also see that her left eye is now open and has a purple color to it, whereas the right eye that is used to be yellow is now faded. This has led many to believe, including me, that Melina in some way is related to Ranni. In the story trailer for the game, Ranni is seen with the right eye closed and the left one open, and the spirit form next to her has her left eye shut and the right eye open. But it's the same eye, which is the trailer possibly telling us that these two beings are related, and the only person with her left eye shut throughout the game is Melina. This could also explain why Melina seemingly appears wherever we are, as the spirit form she is just able to teleport in and out of existence. The final ending is called the Age of Stars, and it's available upon the completion of Ranni's questline. We summon Ranni from inside the Erd Tree, where she then picks up and places Marika's head onto her body, just like we've done in the previous endings. She then goes on to make a promise to all the living beings and souls that exist in the world, and says that the Age of Stars has commenced, and that the 1,000-year voyage underneath the wisdom of the moon is about to begin. Possibly meaning that the people are no longer bound by the forces of a god and can act on their own free will. We then become her spouse, and she becomes the new ruler, but you may be asking how is that possible, as while Ranni was an Empyrean, she claimed to have stripped away her Empyrean flesh, so that can't make her a ruler. Well, there is a lot to unpack with this ending, and is quite difficult to interpret given how little we actually have to go off of, but it seems that Ranni wants to have the moon and stars under control again, as it's possible this was the large governing force of the world before the greater will arrived. This would make sense given that she wanted to break away from her Empyrean body, and since the greater will is out of the picture, this concept of Empyreans is unnecessary now. This is what leads me to my previous conclusion, that the people of the world will no longer be bound by the influence of a higher power and can think on their own. These are all the endings we have so far. The seventh one, dubbed the Age of Absolute, is still under investigation. Others are also trying to figure out if it's possible to do the Age of Star ending with Melina still alive, just to see if something changes, since of course the growing theory is that they are related. However, at the time of making this video, none of this has gotten anywhere, so we'll have to wait and see. With that, however, we come to the end of Elden Ring, and subsequently, the end of the video. The amount of lore in the Soulsborne games is
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I didn't realize you became, I didn't realize you married Ranni in her ending, even though I've gotten that ending. It's actually the first one we did, but that's pretty cool. I would be curious if there's a lot more lore behind some of the endings, or if any of it's going to play out in the DLC. If the DLC takes place after this, which I don't even know what like the working theory is, but if the DLC takes place after our playthrough, I wonder what the canonical ending will be, because all DLC usually has, oh my god, same. What if the DLC ties into Armored Core 6? I'm joking. That would be insane, but there's probably going to be a patches in Armored Core 6 of some kind. And I'm curious to see how long it takes people to find him, or if he's like super obvious, and also if he's a dick in Armored Core. Yeah, he's probably going to be a pilot of some kind, or at least like an NPC you have to fight some way, somehow. But I think the DLC will be interesting. I hope that there's a lot more lore, or maybe some at least explanation of lore in the base game. I hope it's not just like super open-ended with a ton of questions. I would love to see more information about a specific era of the Lands Between. One of the predictions for it, the DLC, is that it's going to involve Miquella, which would make a lot of sense. And Mikkel is a super interesting character too. He's the one that created the golden needle that can remove the mark of the frenzied flame from us. He created it, an imperfect version of it, to stem the progress of Scarlet Rot in his sister Millennia. So I think there's a lot of potential in DLC that involves Mikkel. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I do not know if I will be back on Thursday for sure. I have not decided yet because I'm probably going to take all of next week off at the very least. And I might take longer off depending on how I'm feeling after that. So I don't know if I want to start something on Thursday and then not play it for like a week and a half. We'll see. So I may or may not be back on Thursday. I haven't decided. But yeah, that was Elden Ring. 37 hours and 202 deaths. I'm kind of bummed that we couldn't get it under 200. Oh god, I'm not playing more Shovel Knight. No, not a chance. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I will see you all in a couple weeks with fewer teeth. And yeah, I hope you guys have I never know how to say like be excellent. You know, like at the end of a stream, I'm like, I hope you have a good life. Don't die. Like that's, I feel so awkward saying that. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good couple weeks. I will see you next time. Thanks for hanging out. Adios.